Namaste friends, my name is Amit. Welcome to my channel and website Ganesha-Hanuman.com. So this is a video on the transit for Rahu and Ketu, and very, very important transit. So in my opinion, Rahu and Ketu, these are the most important planets in the chart. So the two most important planets in the chart are Rahu and Ketu. So the axis of Rahu and Ketu, see, Rahu and Ketu, they're always opposite each other. They're 180 degrees apart, right? So that axis where Rahu and Ketu are, let's say Rahu is in the first house and Ketu in the seventh house, so that axis becomes the focus of your life. And you know why Rahu Ketu are the most important planets? Because you see, Sun and Moon are the luminaries, right? They give the light. But Rahu and Ketu can eclipse even Sun and the Moon. So they are extremely important. So we look at those two houses in your chart where Rahu and Ketu are placed very, very closely. Your entire focus of life pretty much will be along those two houses. The areas related to those two houses will be primarily your focus in this life. So I think this is the most important video I'm making so far among all the ones I've made in the past. So this is a major transit, and it happens every 18 months. So in other words, Rahu and Ketu, they change signs every 18 months. They stay in a sign for 18 months, and then so they go around the zodiac, all the 12 signs in 18 years. And so every 18 months, they change signs. So now, right now, this year, they're actually changing signs on November 28th, 2023, and they'll remain in this new sign until May 29th, 2025. So Rahu is going to enter the sign of Pisces, and Ketu is going to enter the sign of Virgo on November 28th. And so this transit will be effective. This video will be relevant from November 28th through May 29th, 2025. And these dates are based on the true nodes. There are two different schools of thought, two different ways of measuring the position, the movement of Rahu and Ketu. One is called the mean nodes, other is called the true nodes. Mean nodes means they average out the position of Rahu and Ketu in the chart, whereas the true nodes is the actual exact position at any given moment of time. So I use true nodes in all my readings, all my Jyotish work. So this video is also based on, these dates are based on the true nodes, true motion of Rahu and Ketu. So now let's come back to Rahu and Ketu. Why are they so important? First of all, Rahu is the reason we take birth. We take birth after birth because of Rahu. Every planet is, delivering our karma, but Rahu represents our desires, and we take birth because we have pending desires. So you might have heard this story, the mythology about churning of the ocean, right? So in that, there was this demon, Swarabhanu. His head was cut off by Vishnu. And so that's a whole big story. You can listen on YouTube, or I've told this many times. So the head became Rahu, and the portion below the head became Ketu. Now, so he was a demon, he was a serpent, so his head was cut off, so head became Rahu. That means, what does Rahu have? Rahu has all the five senses. Rahu has, you can say Rahu wants to see more, taste more, feel more, smell more, but Rahu has no stomach to digest anything. So that means no matter how much Rahu consumes, it's never satisfied. So I always say these two words for Rahu in my classes. Whenever you think of Rahu, think of insatiable desire. Okay, so it can never be satisfied, basically. And Rahu exaggerates everything. It's like a blower, it blows up everything. And it's very unconventional. It's beyond traditions. So it's like pushing the boundary, and it wants to go outer space, and it's connected with the foreigners, so non-traditional people, right? So foreigners, foreign people, foreign culture, foreign studies, subjects, all of that. So that's Rahu in a nutshell. And also, both Rahu and Ketu, especially Rahu, it also represents scandals and illusion, especially. because they are shadow planets. They don't have physical existence. They're just points in the sky. So they're called shadow planets. So they're the masters of illusion. Okay, so wherever Rahu goes, we may find it difficult to understand the energy of that house, what's going to happen, right? So it's always a mystery. And also Rahu may represent unfounded fears, like fear of the unknown. So that's all Rahu. So it depends where Rahu is sitting in your chart, right? The transiting Rahu. So we look at all the 12 signs. So that's Rahu. Now, Ketu is the body without the head. So, right? So there's no monkey mind. And whatever you feed Rahu, it digests. It digests, and so that means, let's say, you feed some kind of knowledge to Rahu, and Rahu will digest that and transform that into wisdom, right? So Rahu consumes everything. So Rahu is 100% satisfied. Rahu does, I'm sorry, Ketu. So we're talking about Ketu now. Ketu is 100% satisfied already. It does not need anything from the outside world. So that's why Ketu is always detached. It doesn't have anything to do with the material world. It wants to go within. It's connect with the spiritual work, intuition, the inner working, the spiritual transformation. So it wants you to be detached from everything external, so that you can go within and work on your path. So that's why it's called the moksha karaka. Ketu is the moksha karaka, meaning it gives you liberation from all this material world, and it's very selfless. Like, it doesn't have any ego, right? So it's like it wants to help other people. But first of all, it wants you to go within, and through your intuition, inner transformation, then you can be a channel, a medium for helping other people. And now the other thing is, Ketu also represents mistakes. Why? Because Ketu is the body, right? So there's no head. So it doesn't even think. So sometimes it causes like what we call like headless mistakes, right? So kind of like you can say, oh, stupid mistakes, maybe, right? So you have to be careful wherever Ketu is sitting. You may end up making some mistakes in that area of life. So we'll talk about all the 12 houses, right? So all the 12 rising signs. Now, so that's why Rahu and Ketu extremely powerful. You cannot ignore those two houses where Rahu and Ketu are sitting in your chart, in your natal chart, and of course the transit also. So how do we analyze this? How do we make sense of Rahu and Ketu's transit? It's a major transit. It happens only after 18 months, 18 long months, right? So it's a big deal. So how do we analyze anything? Three things at the fundamental level. So what are those three things? The planet, the sign, and the houses. So we talked about the planet, which is Rahu and Ketu. So certain qualities of Rahu and Ketu, what do they represent? What do they stand for? Second is the sign that they're sitting in. So we'll talk about the Pisces and Virgo. So Rahu will be sitting in Pisces for 18 months, starting end of November. And Ketu will be sitting in Virgo. So we'll talk about the qualities of Pisces and qualities of Virgo, and then combine how Rahu's qualities plus Pisces qualities, how do they manifest, and then how Ketu's qualities and how qualities of attributes of Virgo, how they manifest. So we'll combine those. So that's number two. So the planet, the sign, and finally the house it is sitting. So that depends on your rising sign. So the first two pieces are generic, that applies to everybody, but the third one is it's very personal. It depends on your rising sign. So for that, you have to listen to all the 12 rising signs and see your rising sign, how that will manifest. So the intro portion is very crucial for all 12 rising signs. Okay. So one other thing is the results that Rahu gives also depend on the dispositor of Rahu. What that means is the lord of the sign where Rahu is placed. So we're saying this transit with this video is for the transit of Rahu in the sign of Pisces. And as we know, Pisces is ruled by Jupiter. So what we say is the dispositor of Rahu is Jupiter. So these results will be modified depending on how strong Jupiter is in your natal chart. Okay, so Rahu transiting Pisces, the dispositor is Jupiter. So look at your chart, how strong Jupiter is in your natal chart, not in the transit chart, in your natal chart. How strong Jupiter is, that will modify the results that we talk about today. So we obviously cannot, talk about everybody's Jupiter. So you can send me a message, or you can find out how your Jupiter is placed, and then modify these sort of recommendations, these guidelines that we'll talk about today. Now, a lot of people ask, oh, should I see it from the moon sign or the Lagna, the rising sign? Again, it depends. If your moon is stronger than Lagna, then look at the transits from moon sign. So make your moon as your Lagna, right? So in other words, let's say your moon is sitting in the third house. So make your third house as Lagna as the first house, and then go from there, second, third, fourth, like that. But if your Lagna is stronger, then of course just stick to the main Rashi chart, the Lagna chart, the chart with the rising sign as the first house. Now, how do you find out if moon is stronger than Lagna or the other way around? For that, you need to talk to an astrologer. I mean, I've given general guidelines in some of my videos. And we can actually, I'm going to make another video how to judge the strength of a planet. So that'll be a separate discussion. Now, before we look at the manifestation of Rahu in Pisces and Ketu in Virgo, what's the purpose of astrology? Astrology gives us the tools, the power to understand where we are and what we can do to make our karma, go through smoothly, to live our karmic results easily and without making any additional karma in the process. So the key thing is remedies. But when I say remedies, it doesn't mean something is broken, you don't need to fix anything. Remedies means you want to be on the same page, on that same frequency, same wavelength as the deities of these 9 planets. These 9 planets are the 9 gods, you can say. Jyotish is the light of the gods. So these are the 9 gods. So main remedies for Rahu and Ketu. First is the deity for Rahu is Durga, and the deity for Ketu is Ganesha. So any Durga mantras or any Ganesha mantras would be very good for any Rahu-Ketu transit. You can look at more remedies on my website, Ganesha-Hanuman.com, and go under remedies section. So you can look at the remedies for Rahu, remedies for Ketu, lots of remedies there, and some YouTube video links and all that. And then you can look at the qualities of the Rahu, right? So Rahu, as I mentioned, represents foreign people, foreign culture. So study of foreign culture, foreign people, or even a trip abroad could be a remedy for Rahu itself. And Ketu is, it's like within, nothing to do with the external world. So Ketu is connected with the ascetics, sadhus, and sannyasis, renunciates. So helping those kind of people is the best remedy for Ketu. Lots of other remedies I've mentioned on my website. So let's get started now. So what does Rahu in Pisces signify? See, Pisces is the 12th sign of the zodiac. Pisces represents imagination. And as I mentioned, Rahu expands everything, right? So exaggerates everything. So you can say Rahu in Pisces could be like wild imagination. So you might see a lot of like magicians doing tricks, and basically it'll be like unlimited imagination. Like you could imagine you can do anything. So people will be very, very imaginative. They'll be creative. So they'll be basically pulling ideas out of thin air, right? So we can do this, we can do that. So that'll be Rahu in Pisces. The next thing is spiritual growth. Pisces is a very spiritual sign ruled by Jupiter, and Venus is exalted there, right? So it's extremely spiritual. It's like an ocean of wisdom. It's a water sign. And so Rahu in Pisces, again, you may see unconventional spirituality, growth of different like lineages, growth of different sects, or different teachings that are not so 100% traditional. So like sort of unconventional, like you could see maybe movie stars getting into spiritual work or things like that. So and you'll see a lot of like mystical experiences and higher realms of consciousness. Like there'll be, you can say with Rahu there, you can say expansion of consciousness for the whole humanity in general, for everybody, right? So expansion of consciousness is the key thing we'll definitely see that in this upcoming transit. Now Pisces is a very creative sign also. As I mentioned, Venus is exalted. Venus is the planet for art and music and dance, all the creative work. So Rahu there will enhance that creativity among all of us. So you'll see a lot of like innovation, a lot of creative work, a lot of new products, even like going to the outer space. So maybe a lot of outer space explorations will actually, there'll be a lot more of those. Now, Pisces is also a sign of empathy and compassion, so helping other people. And so Rahu will enhance all of that. You'll see people helping each other. It will be people will be very, very compassionate, and they'll be talking about making this world a better place. You'll see the psychic abilities, that people have, those will be enhanced. People will have a lot more intuition. And also Pisces is a water sign. It's very adaptive and flexible. It's a very versatile sign. So Rahu will, it'll be like open our horizon. Okay, so people will be very flexible, adaptable, and new situations, new experiences, new ways of doing things, new ways of solving problems. And then one big thing about Pisces is travel. So Pisces is the sign for travelers, and Rahu, as I mentioned, is the sign for foreigners. So you'll see huge amount of foreign travel. So across the border travel, a lot of like global scale, people will be traveling a lot. So this is Rahu in Pisces. Now, of course, there'll be some challenges as well, right? So one is, as I mentioned, Pisces is all about imagination and intuition and spiritual work, all that stuff. But Rahu exaggerates all of that, so it's like wild imagination, and you may see like people just daydreaming and just sort of tendency of like escapism, right? So people may want to escape the reality, and just like they'll be daydreaming all the time. So you need to ground yourself, but also it could manifest as like substance abuse, like drugs and alcohol. So we'll unfortunately we'll probably see the more use of drugs and alcohol during this transit. So the key is, guideline is, come back to reality, go stay grounded, do things to ground yourself. It's great to have huge wild imagination, but there may be a desire to avoid the reality altogether. So be on the guard for that. And the second thing is, of course, because Rahu in Pisces is like a very benign sign. It's not restrictive at all, ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter itself is expansion. So be very careful about like illusion or deception or scandals, things like that. And that we'll talk about all the 12 rising signs, which areas of life you'll need to be careful about. Because Rahu is a shadow planet. Rahu loves illusion. It's the planet for magic. And then Pisces, let's say somebody's Pisces rising, they're very compassionate. They want to help other people, right? But so like they want to, they're very emotional also. So they may have issues with the boundaries, right? So for example, you're helping somebody. So instead of helping, if you sort of like start drowning in their tears, right? So if you need to step back, so you need to have this boundary so that you don't get carried away with those emotions that somebody you're trying to help, it may lead to like emotional overwhelming, right? So you may yourself like sort of drown in these emotions, right? So that's very, very carefully. You have to set boundaries, very important. There may be a lot of confusion because see, Rahu is a very material planet. It wants to seek, like I said, all the five senses. So external stimulation, external desires, everything wants more and more and more on the material plane. Whereas Pisces is a very spiritual sign. It wants to help other people, imagination, intuition, energy work, healing work, all of that. So there's going to be like a tussle. There will be confusion. Should I do more spiritual work or should I do more material work? So you need to have this balance between the spiritual pursuits and the material desires. So there's never like one or the other. It's always both. So you have to maintain the right balance. Because Rahu's materialistic tendencies, they may clash with the spiritual and idealism, this yearning that you see in Pisces. Okay, so I mean, in a lot of ways, Rahu and Pisces are kind of similar, expansion and all of that, but there are some very big differences. So these are the things we need to be careful about. Okay, now, so that was Rahu in Pisces. Next is Ketu in Virgo. Okay, so Ketu, the planet Ketu, like Rahu, we said two words, right? Insatiable desire. Ketu, the two words I use for Ketu are nah iti, nah iti. In Hindi or Sanskrit, that means not this, not this. That's like sort of negation of everything. So basically, let's say you want to find the truth, the ultimate truth, right? So how do you find the truth? In many, many ways, obviously, right? So maybe one way is in the teachings they recommend is you look at your body, is that the truth? No. So you say, nah, iti, so not this, not this. So is my mind the real truth? No. Is this stable? Is my job, is my title the real truth? No. So nah, iti means this process of negation, right? So, and so that's why Ketu is very detached. And so Ketu helps you uh, get to the truth, get to the fundamental truth of the universe by negation. So that's one way of reaching the truth. Virgo is actually, in many ways, it's also a planet of deep analysis. I'm sorry, the sign of deep analysis. So we'll see the synergies. See, Virgo is a sign of knowledge, ruled by Mercury. Mercury wants to gain knowledge, jack of all trades, like wants to learn everything, right? So, but Ketu in Virgo, what it'll do is you'll have lots of this bombarded with knowledge, but Ketu will digest that. Okay, so Ketu will digest that knowledge into wisdom. Okay, so Ketu's presence in Virgo will be excellent if you want to go into that like research oriented fields, like even like accounting or um, uh, anything that involves like data analysis or any kind of research. Right? So that'll be perfect. But Ketu will help you gain a lot of wisdom, Ketu in Virgo. Now, Virgo is a sign connected with money. Why? Because Ketu, Virgo, the ruler is Mercury, and Mercury. So it's all about like accumulation of wealth. Virgo likes to accumulate wealth. See, Pisces is opposite. Pisces wants the flow. Pisces is water, but Virgo is earth. It wants to accumulate things. So money is a big deal for Virgo. They want to accumulate wealth. But what Ketu in Virgo, what Ketu will do is Ketu will force you to use that money for dharmic purposes. Okay, so spiritual utilization of that wealth, that you're going to see people making a lot of donations and charity work, all of that will be there. Now, Virgo is the sign of perfection. Everything has to be specifically organized and in compartments and categories, all of that. So, but Ketu doesn't care. Ketu is like, Ketu doesn't care about any external things. As I said, even like headless mistakes, right? So Ketu, you can even say careless. So you may see that you have to embrace, you have to accept imperfections. So even if something is 90%, that's fine. So Ketu will help you not be so particular about being a perfectionist. So that's a good thing. Virgo is, as I mentioned, sign of analysis, right? So deep analysis. So the way Virgo does analysis is through, logically step by step. So logical analysis is a Virgo thing, but with Ketu there, as I mentioned, detached and intuitive. So you'll see more like analysis using your intuition, right? So your gut feeling. So not through like logical step by step, but you'll see, I think this makes sense. So that'll be the energy of Ketu in Virgo. You'll see a lot of intuitive analysis, right? So that'll be great. Now, Virgo sign actually worries a lot. Virgo, by nature, Virgo rising or Virgo moon people, they worry a lot. So, but Ketu being there, Ketu will say, na iti, not this, don't worry, nothing is real. So Ketu will bring in faith. So you'll have more faith when you're, with Ketu in Virgo, you'll not worry about little things. So Virgo is the sixth sign, and also see the sign and the houses, they're kind of connected. Like sixth sign has a lot of qualities of the sixth house as well. So sixth house is connected with service, and Virgo is the sixth sign. So it's a very service-oriented sign. It's a very healing-oriented sign. So with Ketu there, obviously Ketu is loves to help other people. So Ketu in Virgo will mean you'll see a lot of focus on service and also very traditional type of healing, like alternate healing modalities. Those will be very much in focus. See, on one side, Rahu in Pisces will lead to like energetic healing and all this, esoteric kind of stuff, out there. But then Ketu in Virgo will mean very, very traditional forms of healing as well. So excellent time for health and healing, but we'll talk about the 12 signs. So there's some things to be careful about as well. And then Virgo is the sign that loves to solve problems. Okay, so it's a problem-solving sign. And with Ketu there, so the Virgo style for Virgo is like very methodical and systematic way of solving problems. But Ketu will help you think outside the box, like, through unconventional ways of, solving problems, through intuition, more through intuition and your gut feeling. Okay. Now, Virgo is also about your organized routine, like your everyday routine, so, 9 a.m., this, 10 a.m., this, 11. So Ketu doesn't care. Ketu, so you may have to be very adaptive. So it'll help you become more adaptable, more flexible when it comes to your schedules and organizations. So that was in a nutshell, the overall how Rahu in Pisces and Ketu in Virgo will be for all signs, for all 12 signs, for everybody in general, the entire population, right? So now we'll go one by one, each of the 12 rising signs. If you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe my channel. And this intro section, a lot of people like skip to their rising sign. If you miss this intro section, you will miss, like bulk of these things we're going to talk about. Of course, these things will modify based on the house. We'll look at all the 12 rising signs, but this is extremely important. So don't miss this intro section of this video. All right, so now I'm going to share my screen. We'll look at all the 12 rising signs one by one. Okay, so now we're going to talk about this transit, Rahu in Pisces and Ketu in Virgo for each of the 12 rising signs. First of all, Aries rising. Let me share my screen. I'm going to stop my video. Okay, so as I mentioned, this transit is going to start from November 28th. So this chart is, I've just picked a date in December. And so this is, you see Rahu here in the 12th sign of Pisces. And actually, let me mark it for you. Okay. So this is Rahu in the 12th house. So this is Aries rising, number one sign, Aries rising, and Ketu in the 6th house. So with Aries rising, Rahu in Pisces, Rahu will be in the 12th house, and Ketu will be in the 6th house. Okay. So Rahu in the 12th house, this is, so your focus will be the axis of 6th house and 12th house. Okay, so this will be your focus for these 18 months. Now let's see one by one. All the qualities that we discuss in the intro section for Aries rising, especially, that becomes very, very pertinent. Pretty much everything we discussed in the intro section applies for Aries rising. Why? Because Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. So Pisces is the 12th sign of zodiac, right? So Rahu in Pisces is very much similar to Rahu in the 12th house. So please do listen to all the things we discussed in the intro. So Rahu in I'm sorry, one second. So let me remove that. Okay. So Rahu in the 12th house. Okay. First, it's the theme, overall theme will be foreign things, foreign places, foreign culture, foreign travel, right? Because Rahu is, in the 12th house. 12th house is about foreign travel, and Rahu is the planet for foreign things. Okay. So all of that will be in focus. Now, 12th house itself connects with, things like meditation, self-discovery, interest in metaphysics, mysteries of the world, the secrets and hidden aspects of life, all that, occult knowledge, astrology, metaphysics. Astrology and occult is also a lot about 8th house, but 12th house is about, the unconventional things, the things of not of this world, like astral travel, things like that. So all of these things will grow. Okay, so you'll see a huge rise in all of these things. Like people will be super interested in meditation, self-discovery, mysterious mysteries of the world, but they would want to do those things in a very unconventional way, like in a different way. Okay, so then 12th house also represents the dreams. So you may have a lot of like unconventional dreams, different. So dreams will be the focus. So you'll get messages in your dreams. You may receive guidance in your dreams. So dream yoga, yoga nidra, all of those will be extremely powerful during this transit. Next is 12th house is also connected with our sleep. So that is one caution for Aries rising. You have to be very careful and pay attention to your sleep. Make sure you sleep enough, and if you have trouble sleeping, you can do head massage, feet massage, things like that, or some nice music. So pay attention to your sleep. Rahu in the 12th for Aries may also give you some sort of like like isolation from the world. So because 12th house is the house of sort of like detention, like away from other things, other people, away from the normal world, day-to-day world, right? So, and then also escape from reality. So that's a huge thing we discussed in the intro also, because Rahu in Pisces, especially in the 12th house, very, very important for Aries rising to watch out for any issues with addiction or alcohol or drugs or any other, like even sugar, whatever. So do not try to escape from reality. Come back to the reality. So, there'll be a tendency to do like have wild imaginations, daydreaming, things like that. So be very careful not to escape the reality. And then you may have like, Rahu wants to have more and more and more, but 12th house is the house of letting go, or even losses. So you may have difficulty in letting go. So Rahu doesn't want to let go of any material possessions and things like that. So you may be forced to let go of certain things, or it's better you voluntarily be very, very flexible. In things that aren't serving you, you may have to let go of those things. And Rahu in the 12th, very, very secretive. There may be like secretive enemies, hidden enemies, things like that, or maybe some kind of deception from foreigners. So be careful. So let's say foreign travel is something highly, highly recommended and possible for Aries rising, but be careful not to be deceived or taken advantage of, or there could be some illusion when you are traveling abroad, things like that. And finally, Rahu in the 12th house is the house of expenses. And Rahu, what does Rahu do? Rahu exaggerates everything we do. Okay, so be careful. Watch your expenses. So a few recommendations for things to be careful about is take care of your sleep. Don't be too isolated. Don't escape reality. And be careful about like deception and things, and watch your expenses. So that's Rahu in Pisces in the 12th house for Aries rising. Now we'll talk about the 6th house, so which is Ketu in Virgo in the 6th house for Aries rising. See, 6th house Ketu will make you aware of the suffering of other people. So you'll be very, very aware of in general the suffering of humanity. Okay, so the 6th house is a service-oriented house, and so Ketu there will enhance. It'll sort of help you, guide you, force you to help other people. And 6th house and Virgo, they are very, they worry a lot, but Ketu there, they'll make you detached. It'll make you detached from the routine worries. Day-to-day worrying will not be there. 6th house connects with our health, our Shad Ripus, 6 weaknesses, all of that. But Ketu there will, two things. One is you'll see a lot of like innovative solutions to health, unconventional. I'm sorry, my internet was having issues. So we were talking about Ketu in the 6th house. You see, we were talking about the health, right? So 6th house is all about our health. And so Ketu there you'll see like huge rise of holistic health, holistic healing, traditional ways of healing, alternate healing modalities will be on the rise. There you may see innovation there, but also there may be some like hidden health issues, right? So you need to get checked up and just be careful that you don't miss anything, because Ketu is of course a shadow planet, right? So there may be some hidden issues with respect to your health. Then 6th house is all about our enemies, and so Ketu there will actually, you'll try to avoid any confrontation. You'll avoid like enemies and like being strong. So basically, or Ketu will force you to deal with any conflict in a very spiritual way, so which would be a good thing. But if there are some, like, let's say even you want to sit for a competitive exam, right? So that's not a very, very good time for that. So Ketu will make you avoid confrontation or competitiveness, all of that, or fighting with the enemies, things like that. Ketu will you won't be able to maintain a very good strict routine, right? So sixth house is about setting up a proper routine. Ketu you may not be able to do that very well. Now, Ketu may also make you procrastinate. Okay, so like there may be lack of motivation in like mundane tasks. So you may feel like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. So be careful about that. Then there is, sixth house connects with our pets. So there may be issues with pets. Also, sixth house is our servants or employees that work for us, people who basically work for you. And so there may be issues with those. Be careful, they may quit, or there may be some deception or hidden issues going on. In your own job also, sixth house connects with the job that we do as well, more like 9-to-5 job. And so you may sort of like lack interest, you may see lack of interest in your work, in your job, things like that. So that's pretty much Ketu in Virgo in the sixth house for Aries rising. Now, one other thing I want to mention is, see, Jupiter will be on its own in your Lagna, because Rahu will leave Jupiter, right? So when Rahu goes to Pisces from Aries, Jupiter will be on its own. So that will be a very, very positive, strong period, especially from December through April. So Jupiter will stay in your first house in Aries through April 2024 for Aries rising, right? So in the first house, Jupiter is like blessings of the Guru. So excellent period. Everything will be expansive for Aries rising through April. Even after that, Jupiter will go over to the second house. So I'll make a separate video for Jupiter's transit, but in general for Aries rising, as soon as Rahu moves away from Jupiter, you'll see much more positive things connected with your first house or Lagna. So that was Jupiter, that was Rahu in Pisces and Ketu in Virgo transit for Aries rising. All right, so now we'll see the impact of this Rahu-Ketu transit on Taurus rising. So as I mentioned, you can see the dates on the screen also. So this transit takes place from November 28th, 2023 through May 29th of 2025. So it's a long 18-month transit. Let me share my screen. And if you haven't watched the intro section yet, for this video, for this transit, the intro section is extremely important. You'll miss a lot of things if you just listen to the rising sign portion of it. So I highly recommend you go back and listen to the intro section. And if you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. So let me share my screen. We'll look at Taurus rising. All right, so this is the chart as of December. So this transit starts November 28th. So that's why I picked some date in December. And I'm going to shift the chart to make it Taurus rising. So number 2 sign is Taurus. And so this is the chart for Taurus rising. All right, now Taurus rising, let's see. So Rahu is in Pisces in the 11th house, and Ketu is in Virgo in the 5th house. So the 5th and 11th, so Rahu Ketu are on 5-11 axis. What does that mean? So that means the focus of the transit. So these two houses will be activated for you, for Taurus rising. During these 18 months, these two houses will be activated. So we'll see what these houses represent, and what Rahu in Pisces in the 11th house and what Ketu in Virgo in the 5th house means. Let me this way. Now, one other thing I mentioned in all of the rising signs, Jupiter will be on its own, right? So when Rahu moves away from Aries over to Pisces, Jupiter will be on its own. It'll be able to give pure blessings. So for Taurus rising, the 12th house blessings will be there. So I'll make a separate video for that. But just so you know, you'll see much more positive results for the 12th house. So now we're talking about the 11th house and the 5th house. Rahu in the 11th house. 11th house is one of the upachaya houses. Upachaya means the ones, these houses grow with time. So they give better and better results with time. So which are the upachaya houses? Third house, 6th house, 10th house, and 11th house. Third house is our courage. 6th house is, our obstacles, enemies, our fighting capabilities. 10th house is our karma. 11th house is the results, the gains from that karma. So these 4 houses are called upachaya houses. So if Rahu is placed in upachaya house, it's a very good placement. So in general, for Taurus rising, Rahu in a upachaya house in the 11th house will give more positive results. Okay, so now let's see, talk about Rahu in Pisces in the 11th house specifically. 11th house stands for our goals, our aspirations, our desires, our the fulfillment of desires, financial gains from your income. The 11th house represents our social network, and it's like outer space and helping other people, reaching out to the masses, all of that, networking. So all of those qualities or things that 11th house represent, they'll be influenced by the presence of Rahu. Now, what does Rahu stand for? It's all unconventional things, insatiable desire, more and more fear of things, ambitions and excess of everything, exaggeration, scandals, illusion. So what we can say is 11th house, mainly relates to our friends, our social network, all of that. So Rahu there may actually give you some illusory friends or some superficial friendships, right? So that means maybe online you think you have 1,000 friends, but then most of them are not your true friends. So there may be some kind of deception when it comes to social networks or friends or the people you're trying to reach out. And also there will be a strong desire for like recognition from the friends. So wherever Rahu goes, it desires things related to that house. Okay, there's a strong desire to be recognized. So Rahu in the 11th house means Taurus rising people they will really crave to be recognized by their friends. There'll be huge desire, sort of insatiable desire for you to be recognized. Like you want to be known in your friend circle. You want friends to praise you, to say good things about you. So that's something you need to be careful about. Okay, but also you may have like unconventional friendships with foreign people, lots of foreign friendships and things like that. Okay. But then there'll be like a lot of peer pressure, I think, right? So Rahu in the 11th, you'll be comparing yourself with with your peers, with your friends, but there could be risk of betrayal also, like illusory friendships, as I said, superficial friendships. Okay, and then you may actually you may end up overindulging in social networks, like a lot of parties and going out with friends, too much of that. So there might be some lessons to be learned in the area of friends and friendships. Okay. Now, 11th house is, as I said, financial gains. There may be issues in setting like long-term goals, because Rahu is what? Rahu is instant gratification. Rahu wants everything now, right? So Rahu wants more, but everything right now. It's not like 5-year plan. So there might be some issues in setting long-term goals. So you might be looking at like short-term gains rather than setting long-term goals. So be careful about that. Now we see Ketu in the 5th house in Virgo. So for Ketu in Virgo, please listen to the intro section if you haven't already. Ketu in Virgo in the 5th house. 5th house is what? Creativity. 5th house is our children, our romantic partners, our education, our mantras, our speculative investments, risk taking, all of that. So all of those areas, you may see there will be some spiritual inclination, like with your children may turn to spirituality, or you may develop this spiritual connection with your children. You may find a spiritual partner, like a romantic partner who's very spiritual. You may make like more holistic ethical, spiritual investments instead of taking huge risk. But there may also be some mistakes in speculation. So try not to make any speculative investments. Try not to take too much risk. And then Ketu is also endings, right? Endings, detachments, challenges, obstacles. So there may be like ending of some romantic relationships that are not serving you. There may be challenges with creativity, there might be some breaks in education. Fifth house is also education. There may be detachment from your children. So and also if you've been planning or want to have children, this is not the ideal time because Ketu in the fifth house sort of denies, so it's um, unless you're on a very very spiritual path, and then you may be blessed with a spiritual child. So I mean that's great, but in general Ketu may pose challenges in especially in having children. So this transit, of course, you want to look at your entire chart, and there you can do remedies, lots of remedies, right? So you can do Ganesha mantra if you are really really planning or wanting to have a child during this time. So do lots of Ganesha mantra. But so that's the overall picture for Taurus rising, with Rahu in the 11th house, Ketu in the 5th house, Rahu in Pisces, and Ketu in Virgo. All right, so next is Gemini rising. I'll shift the chart. So I'm just picking a chart in December because this transit is valid from November 28th, 2023 through May 29th, 2025. So we're talking about Gemini rising, how the Rahu in Pisces and Ketu in Virgo will impact all the 12 rising signs. If you haven't listened to the intro section, please do that. Extremely important. That will clarify a lot of things we talk about. Rahu in Pisces specifically and Ketu in Virgo. So for Gemini rising, Rahu will be in the 10th house in Pisces, and Ketu will be in the 4th house in Virgo. So the 4-10 axis, the 4th house and the 10th house will be the areas of focus during these 18 months. Now, 10th house is about our career, our public life. 4th house is our inner happiness, our home, away from public life. So there'll be this tussle, you have to balance the, your professional life with your personal and family responsibilities. So that may be a challenge. As your career ambitions could be consuming all of your energy because Rahu wants more and more and more. So your 10th house, the profession, your work, your career, maybe too much attention to that area and neglecting your home and inner happiness and mother and those things. So that's the overall theme for Gemini rising. Now, again, so for Gemini rising also, Rahu is sitting in the 10th house, and 10th house is one of the Upachaya houses. Upachaya houses are the ones that grow with time, that give you better and better results with time. So there are 4 Upachaya houses: 3rd house, 6th house, 10th house, and 11th house. So Rahu being placed in one of the Upachaya houses in the 10th house, it's a good solid position, good placement. So it'll give you more positive results rather than negative results for Gemini rising. So now let's see first the Rahu in the 10th house. 10th house, as I mentioned, it's our career, ambitions, profession. So Rahu sitting there, you could have huge ambitions for your career, right? And you could also see like unconventional innovation in career. But also you may have challenges with the authorities. 10th house is authorities, and Rahu is like, it may give you challenges. You may be too, overconfident, or, too, you may be imagining things a lot. But it may give you very adventurous career choices. Like you may be willing to take risks and explore like adventurous career choices. One thing be very careful about is your reputation. Your reputation at work, among your colleagues, among your superiors, among the authorities. You may be overly concerned with your public image and reputation. So this might be like unfounded fear also, but there could be a chance of some controversies or scandals in your career. And like you may have like fears also, fear of criticism, fear of being judged by others, and so those might be sources of stress for you. But you may end up giving overemphasis on material success and social status, right? So be careful about that. But you may have this huge desire, like insatiable desire, to be recognized at work, to be recognized for your career in your profession among your work colleagues. So that's Rahu in the 10th house in Pisces. Now, Ketu in the 4th house in Virgo. 4th house represents our roots, our emotions, emotional well-being, emotional happiness. It's our home, our physical place of residence. 4th house is our mother. So all of those areas may be impacted by Rahu. Rahu is what? Makes you more spiritual. Go within. Nah iti, not this, not this. It's like negation of anything external. So you may be on a deep spiritual exploration. You may focus on inner growth. You may be searching for your ancestral roots, right? So you may actually end up finding your lineage, your ancestral roots, and more spiritual bent towards education. And you may actually feel yourself kind of doing emotional detoxification. Like you may have, detachment from emotions. Like you may not be super emotionally attached to your home, to your mother, things like that, or there may be sense of isolation also. So there could be some inner turmoil, like inner conflict going on. Like you may feel separated from your roots also. Kind of feeling of rootlessness, right? And literally, physically also, you may actually abandon your home. You may go away from your home, like on a pilgrimage, or so all of that is in play for Ketu in the 4th house, Rahu in the 10th house for Gemini rising. Again, please do listen to the intro section. Very, very important. Okay. Next is Cancer rising. I'll shift the chart to make it Cancer rising. This is number 4 sign, Cancer rising. This is the chart for some date in December. So because this transit is applicable from November 28, 2023 through May 29th, 2025. So for those 18 months, so it starts on November 28th. So this is Cancer rising. For Cancer rising, as you can see, Rahu will be sitting in the 9th house in the sign of Pisces. Ketu will be sitting in the 3rd house in the sign of Virgo. Okay, so the 3rd house and 9th house will be the focus, this axis. So you cannot ignore these two houses for these 18 months because listen to the intro section. I highly recommend because you'll understand the more about Rahu-Ketu, more about Pisces and Virgo. It'll give you clarity on this axis, why it's so important. And also, again, another thing, Jupiter will be strong during entire of that duration because Rahu will be moving away from Jupiter. Right now, Rahu is sitting with Jupiter. So as of November 28th, Rahu will move away from Pisces over to Pisces. I'm sorry, away from Aries over to Pisces. Okay, so your 10th house will be very, very strong for Cancer rising. But anyway, coming back to Rahu and Ketu, Rahu is in the 9th house in Pisces. So, and we've already talked about what Rahu in Pisces means. Please listen to the intro section. Now, in terms of the 9th house represents our gurus. Basically, 9th house is the house of the guru. It's the 9th sign. It's the Karaka for 9th house is Jupiter. Okay, so Rahu is coming to the house of Guru. 9th house itself represents our gurus, our belief system, our dharma, our father, higher education, long distance travels. So all of that is 9th house. So all of those things could be modified by the qualities of Rahu. So what are the qualities of Rahu? It's very unconventional, non-traditional. It loves foreign things, foreign places, foreign people, right? So it gives you sort of dissatisfaction wherever it goes. It may lead to like exaggeration or excess of everything. It may give you unfounded fears. It may be a lot of desires and maybe a scandal or some illusion or some confusion around those areas. So be careful about, there may be some issues with your gurus, like some deception or just some confusion and lack of clarity. Or you may actually have some unconventional gurus, or you may even have some foreign gurus, right? So people from other countries or other lineages that you didn't grow up with, right? So all possibilities, like wonderful things, like you may really meet a very unconventional or a foreign guru, non-traditional guru. But then there could be some issues. You may actually end up changing your belief system, your dharma, You may embark on a very unconventional, non-traditional dharmic path. Same thing with your travels. You may go on a pilgrimage, long distance travel. Rahu makes you go places. Rahu is searching for something all the time. So you may end up making great long distance travels, pilgrimages. Now, Ketu in the third house. What does third house represent, right? So third house, we already talked about Ketu in Virgo in the intro section. Please listen to that. Now, Ketu in Virgo, but it's sitting in the third house. Third house represents our communication, our short distance travels. Third house is our skills. It's our friends, very close friends who are like our siblings. And also, third house represents our younger siblings. Third house is our neighbors, close neighbors. Third house is all sorts of information and documentation, things like that. And as I mentioned, communication. So those things may be modified by Ketu. Ketu is what? It internalizes everything. It spiritualizes everything. It makes you detached from all of these things. So that means you actually have to be very careful in your communication, in your information, in your documentation. Very, very careful about not making any mistakes in your, when you sign any documents, when you're sending any information or communication or emails or webinars, things like that. Other thing is short distance travels. You may feel lazy to even travel short, like within the city also. You may procrastinate, right? So, but you may end up learning some unconventional skills, some spiritual skills, right? So you may actually develop a spiritual relationship with your siblings, with your neighbors, with your close friends. So all of that is possible. So that is Rahu in the ninth house, Ketu in the third house for Cancer rising, how that's going to impact during these 18 months. All right. Next is Leo rising. Number 5 sign is Leo. So for Leo rising, how this transit is going to be, this transit is going to take place from 28th of November 2023 through May 29th, 2025. We have already discussed Rahu in Pisces and Ketu in Virgo in the intro section. So please listen to the intro section very carefully. Tons of information in there. And also please like, share, subscribe if you haven't already. Now for Leo rising, Rahu will be sitting in the 8th house. Ketu will be sitting in the 2nd house. So the focus will be the 2nd and 8th house. As I mentioned in the intro section, you cannot ignore the houses where Rahu and Ketu are sitting. So those two houses will be the focus for you. Also, Jupiter will be by itself. Rahu will go away from Jupiter. So your 9th house will be very strong from December onwards through April of 2024. And then Jupiter moves over to your 10th house. It'll be powerful there as well. So Gemini, Leo rising, Rahu in the 8th house in Pisces. What does 8th house represent? 8th house is all our secrets. 8th house is occult. 8th house is astrology, all the deep sciences. And 8th house is other people's money, the legacy or money from your clients. 8th house is change and transformation and sudden things, like sudden changes, could be also accidents. 8th house is the chronic diseases, okay? 8th house is also like sexual pursuits, like, secretive things. And then 8th house is like deep hidden emotions. 8th house also represents fear, all the change, transformation. So 8th house is longevity. And so Rahu being in the 8th house, first of all, it will actually make you fearless. So you'll explore spirituality, you'll explore occult sciences, you'll explore deep secrets of the universe. You'll be fearless in those. So that's an excellent placement. And then you'll actually go deep into more investigative careers in investigative areas and skills. You'll develop skills of research and investigation, things like that. But there might be some like unfounded fears as well. And some secrets may be revealed. But you could get like, windfalls of money from other people, like either legacy or just from stocks or something. But there could be like big chunks of money that you will earn. You'll get, not earn, from other people. But you may have this huge desire to be recognized for your esoteric work, for any 8th house pursuits. So you'll have desire for those things. But overall, very appropriate time for you to dive deep into spirituality. Now, people say, what are the remedies? We talked about the remedies in the intro section, but also specifically for Leo rising, Rahu in the 8th house, the perfect remedy is do as much as possible of all these occult sciences, astrology, metaphysics, energy healing, Reiki, whatever, yoga, Ayurveda, any of these deep sciences, and use that, or study that or practice that as a perfect remedy for Rahu in the 8th house. Then Ketu will be opposite, of course. It's always opposite Rahu. So Ketu will be sitting in the 2nd house. 2nd house represents what? 2nd house is our food that we eat. 2nd house is the speech that comes out of our mouth. 2nd house is our family, our kutumba. 2nd house is our family wealth, our accumulated wealth, our possessions, our things that the resources we have. So all of those things may be colored, maybe tweaked, maybe modified by Ketu. Ketu is intuition, going within, spiritual, detachment, selfless, headless things. So you may have detachment from food. That means you may be fasting, or you won't be eating much. You may have inclination not to eat, but so be careful. So Ketu in the 2nd house will actually not make you eat junk food. That is Rahu in the 2nd house, but Ketu in the 2nd house is just you'll feel like you won't feel like eating much. So try to eat, have a proper diet, and there may be some detachment, disconnect, or misunderstandings with family, or issues with family wealth, issues with speech. On the other hand, you could also develop, you could turn it around, and you could develop like spiritual speech. You could do kirtan, you could do sangha in your sangha. Yeah, and then family wealth, you could donate some of the family wealth for spiritual purposes. You could have spiritual discussions with your family, so you can turn those things, those challenges, into positive. You could have like a spiritual speech. You could organize webinars for on spiritual topics. But there could be like financial instability, difficulty in accumulating wealth, so you could do remedies for those. And the more spiritual work you do, the better will be the results for Ketu in the 2nd house. So that was for Leo rising, the impact of this Rahu-Ketu transit, Rahu in the sign of Pisces and Ketu in the sign of Virgo. So next is Virgo rising. This is the chart for someday I picked in December, because this transit that we're talking about in this video is applicable from November 28, 2023 through May 29, 2025. Okay, so anytime after that, so you'll see Ketu sitting in the sign of Virgo, number 6, and Rahu in the sign of Pisces, number 12. So for Virgo rising, Ketu is obviously in the Lagna, in the rising sign, in the 1st house. Rahu is sitting in the 7th house. So your focus will be yourself and your partnerships, your relationships. So that will be the focus for Virgo rising people. And also Jupiter will get a sigh of relief, because Rahu will be moving away finally. After 18 months of spending with Jupiter, Rahu will go away, and Jupiter will be able to give you more positive results for wherever it's sitting and whichever houses it rules in the chart for Virgo, or for all rising signs. So let's talk about, if you haven't already, please listen to the intro section that talks in detail about Rahu in Pisces and Ketu in Virgo. So now we'll build on to that foundation. We'll talk about how Rahu in the sign of Pisces in 7th house will manifest, and Ketu in the sign of Virgo in the 1st house will manifest. So first, Rahu in the 7th house. See, 7th house is our partnerships, one-on-one partnerships, both personal and business partnerships. It's our relationships, basically. So Rahu there, you may end up having some unconventional relationships, or you may find dissatisfaction in your relationships, or you could have excessive like expectations or ambitious relationships or partnerships, and you could actually be attracted, or you could have partnerships with people from different background, like different cultural backgrounds, right? Or lots of interest in international relationships, and both personal, and like you may meet somebody who's not from your country, or you could do business with people from different countries, right? So, but there will be a desire for you to be recognized by your partner, Okay, so you'll seek that recognition, that validity through your relationships, in your relationships. So essentially, there'll be exploration of personal identity through your relationships. Okay, so I mean, you may lead on a journey of self-discovery through your interactions with others. Okay, so kind of like, 1-7, they seem opposite. So one is first house is self, seventh house is other people, right? So you have to strike a balance between self identity and your relationships. Okay. So, but there might be a fear of commitment, like Rahu just wants to have more and more things. It doesn't settle down, basically, right? So it may be difficult for you to say yes. Okay, so you might have this fear of being bogged down, or fear of commitment. Okay, so that's Rahu in the seventh house. Now Ketu in Lagna. Okay, Lagna, obviously the most important house, or in the chart, right? Lagna is everything. Ketu in Lagna could lead to like issues with self-worth, because Lagna is your self-identity, your personality, your behavior. So Ketu there may make you shy, it may make you self-aware, but also you may feel, I'm not worth it, right? So those issues might be there. So you have to be careful about that. Do lots of Ganesha mantra. But there'll be huge spiritual depth, spiritual awakening, spiritual discovery, a deep interest in like inner exploration, self-realization. All of that, you'll be detached from the material world. There'll be, also you may express yourself in different like traditional, unconventional ways. Okay. And you may have intuition. That's key. That's very, very important. You may develop huge intuition and insights and psychic abilities. And you have you'll get this gut feeling. You'll get this knack of perceiving the hidden truths and understanding the subconscious mind. And but there might be like, you may feel kind of like identity crisis or identity confusion. Who am I? So that's a good thing, actually. You'll embark on the journey to discovering who am I. Okay. There might be like social awkwardness, like you may feel, oh, I don't fit into the society, which is fine, right? So that'll lead you to the spiritual discovery. There might be like isolation. You may feel like just being on your own, away from the crowd, away from people, away from friends, away from everybody. And your behavior could be unpredictable, unconventional. But there will be huge spiritual discovery. So this axis will be active. So your first house and seventh house will be active for Virgo rising.
Okay, so now we'll see the impact of this transit on Libra rising. So this is the chart for Libra rising. This chart is for some date in December because the transit starts from November 28th. So any day after that, you can see the transit will remain from November 28, 2023 through May 29th, 2025. Again, if you haven't, please watch the intro section. Very, very important, where we talk about the impact of Rahu in Pisces and Ketu in Virgo. So now in this portion, we'll talk about Libra rising. So for Libra rising, Rahu is going to be in the 6th house and Ketu in the 12th house. So, so the idea is that this for all Libra rising, your focus for these 18 months will be around the 6th house matters and the 12th house matters. Rahu and Ketu, wherever they go, it's a major transit. We have to focus on that axis, on those two houses. So let's talk about the 6th house and the 12th house. So Rahu is in Pisces in the 6th house. Okay, 6th house deals with our competition, obstacles, our daily routine, our health matters, acute diseases, our pets, the service to others, helping, volunteering, and also the service, the work that we do for others, like as a job, more like 9-to-5 job. And also it is connected with people who work for us, either employees or help you have at home, all of that. So those things will be colored, will be impacted with the presence of Rahu there in the sixth house. So this is Rahu in Pisces. So Rahu in Pisces, kind of, you can also think of it as Rahu and Jupiter together. So Rahu in the sixth house, what that'll do is, first of all, sixth house is also connected with our Shadripus, the six weaknesses, which lead to health issues and things like that. So we may find, that some of the health issues are difficult to diagnose because Rahu is a illusory, it's a shadow planet. So make sure you get checked up properly. You don't miss anything when it comes to health. But also we'll see unusual, or alternate ways of healing. Okay, unconventional um, health like healing abilities will surface. So healthcare and service, all those industries will see more like non-conventional, unconventional ways of healing people. So that's a good thing. Now, in terms of Rahu in the sixth house, it's also an Upachaya house. Upachaya means the ones that grow with time, that become better and better with time. So there are 4 Upachaya houses: third house, sixth house, 10th house, and 11th house. So Rahu being in the sixth house. So this is Libra rising and Rahu in the sixth house. So it's an Upachaya house. So it'll give good results. It'll give better results. And Rahu loves being in the sixth house. One of the key things for the sixth house is enemies. Okay, so Rahu in the sixth house gives you immense power to fight with the enemies, both external and internal. Okay, so it's a good. I've seen many charts where in the natal charts where Rahu in the sixth house, those people are fighters. They do not give up. Okay, there may be some health issues, so you have to be careful not to miss anything, but gives you the fighting ability. They don't give up. Okay, so that's a wonderful thing. Now be careful about any issues, deception at your job, or some scandals or things like that with your workers or things. And also you may have this extreme desire. Rahu gives you this sort of insatiable desire for things around the house it's sitting in. So you may have this huge desire to be recognized among your employer or among the people who work for you. And so just be careful. Don't get too over excited about influencing or pleasing or being recognized in your workplace or among people who work for you. And also there might be tendency to overwork and stress yourself because Rahu is excess of everything, and sixth house is about the routine and doing hard work, all of that. So that's Rahu in the sixth house. Very good placement to be a fighter. So don't worry about any obstacles. Rahu will help you resolve obstacles, but take care of your health, and there'll be unconventional ways of healing as well. Okay, so that's Rahu in the sixth house. Now Ketu in the 12th house. It's in Virgo. Listen to the intro section to understand Ketu in Virgo, and this is Ketu in the 12th house. See, 12th house is the house for moksha, nirvana, liberation. Okay, and Ketu itself is a moksha karaka, so it's an excellent, wonderful placement for doing spiritual work, for pretty much getting enlightenment. Okay, so spiritual depth, inner exploration, all of these yoga, meditation, energy work, especially intuitive work, right? So your connection, you'll develop this deep connection to the subconscious, and you'll be able to tap into the collective unconscious as well. Okay, so you'll have a lot of intuition. That's the key thing with Ketu in the 12th house. I've seen a lot of healers, energy healers with Ketu in the 12th house. So there'll be, you can say, healing and transformation at the subconscious level. It's a very good placement also to resolve any past life issues and traumas, because 12th house is all ancestors, and Ketu being there, it'll actually give you amazing insights in your dreams, in your sleep, so that you can heal your any past life issues. So past life regression is an excellent thing for you to do during these 18 months. There may be issues like you may feel isolated or like solitude. That could be by choice or could be forced upon you. So be prepared to spend time with yourself. But also there might be like confusion or like blurring of the boundaries between conscious and subconscious mind. So you'll be going deep, a lot of spiritual cleansing, spiritual insights. Okay. And then be careful about any like sort of hidden enemies, because 12th house represents like blind spots and hidden things. And so Ketu being there, that may heighten that energy. But you'll be, having a lot of like psychic abilities, psychic sensitivity, but there may be excess of that as well. So don't, make sure you are staying grounded and balanced, because you may overwhelm yourself with all this spiritual energy, this energy work and things like that. So you may find difficulty in sleeping. And also 12th house represents the expenses. So you may end up doing some careless expenses, because Ketu is, considered careless, as in it's detached, right? So all of those things. So, but excellent time for spiritual upliftment as well as fighting off the enemies. So that's the Libra. I'm sorry, yeah, Libra rising with Rahu in the 6th house and Ketu in the 12th house.
All right, so next we'll see the impact of this transit on Scorpio rising. This is the chart for Scorpio rising. Number 8 sign is Scorpio. And as you can see for Scorpio rising, where is Rahu placed? So this is 1st house, 2nd house, 3rd house, 4th house, 5th house, right? So Rahu is placed in the 5th house and Ketu is opposite in the 11th house. And this is the chart for some date in December, because this transit will be effective from November 28th, 2023 through May 29th, 2025. So during those 18 months, for Scorpio rising, your 5th house and 11th house will be activated. Okay. And please watch the intro section very carefully, because that will talk about the impact of Rahu in Pisces in general and Ketu in Virgo. So now we're adding to that specifically for Scorpio rising, what's the impact of Rahu in the 5th house in Pisces and Ketu in the 11th house in Virgo. You see, 5th house is all about the creativity, things that we give birth to, like piece of art, and also our children that we give birth to, right? 5th house is our students, our disciples. 5th house is our romantic partners. 5th house is speculation, the risks that we take. So all of those things will be modified by Rahu's presence there, and it being the sign of Pisces. Okay, so what that means, there may be there may be unconventional romantic relationships, because Rahu is unconventional. There may be some like dissatisfaction when it comes to romantic relationships, or with your children or with your students. But it may also mean like some kind of unconventional setup or relationship, right? So you may do some new things, some very creative, unconventional things you've never done with your children before, right? So some kind of activities. And this is a excellent time to sort of, think creatively, like create things with your, partners, with your children. And one thing is, people might get carried away when it comes to speculation or stock market. So because Rahu causes illusion. Okay, so Rahu may make you think, hey, this is the best time to invest all of my savings, everything's right. So be very careful. I would suggest, stay away from any kind of like risky speculative investments during this time. Excellent time to dive deeper into the spiritual aspects of your relationship. Basically, try to have establish a spiritual foundation for your relationship with your romantic partners and with your children. So that'll be excellent for Rahu in Pisces in your 5th house. But be careful about any illusion or hidden things with respect to, of course, speculation, but also with respect to your children or your partners. Don't jump into any romantic relationships without thinking through all of the things. So there may be some kind of illusions you may not notice immediately. Then Ketu in the 11th house. 11th house is our material gains. Okay. 11th house is the social network, our friends, our desires. Okay. 11th house is our elder siblings, reaching out to the masses, helping people. So the Ketu's placement there. Ketu is what? Ketu is a detached planet. Ketu is represents endings, and naha iti, meaning not that, not that. So Ketu is the planet of discrimination. It wants you to be detached from everything external and go within, have intuition, develop the spiritual inclination, spiritual growth. So all of that. So there will be sort of like this. You may feel content with less, like you may not have this urge to have a lot of earnings, a lot of money, things like that, or you may actually end up doing a lot of donations and spiritual work with your money, with your income. Okay. Second thing is you may actually find some good spiritual friends, not just like hundreds of friends who don't have close relationship, but you'll find connections with people at a spiritual level. So that's a good thing. So you'll reach out to people who have this good spiritual inclination. So in other words, the connections you make will be very authentic at a very deep level, spiritual level. So essentially, it'll be quality over quantity. But be careful not to make any, sort of headless mistakes when it comes to your earnings, your money, and with your friends also, actually. So there might be some kind of misunderstandings or mistakes with respect to your friends or friend circle, and in general in your networking, whatever you're doing, right? So that's the impact of Rahu in the 5th house and Ketu in the 11th house for Scorpio rising. As I mentioned, please listen to the intro section for sure to get the full picture. All right. All right, so next is the impact of this transit on Sagittarius rising. This is the chart for Sagittarius rising. You see number 9 sign, that's Sagittarius, it's ascendant, it's rising. So this we're talking about the impact of Rahu and Ketu's transit. Rahu in Pisces going into Pisces and Ketu going into Virgo on November 28th, 2023 through May 29th, 2025. So for those 18 months, what will be the impact on each of the rising signs? So if you haven't already, please watch the intro section. That will give you the detailed overview of Rahu in Pisces and Ketu in Virgo. And now in this section, we'll talk specifically about the impact on Sagittarius rising, so which house they're going to fall in. So Rahu is going to be in the 4th house in Pisces, and Ketu is going to be in the 10th house. You see here 4th house, 1st house, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and Ketu opposite in the 10th house. So these two houses, this axis, 4, 10 axis, you cannot ignore. This is going to be the focal point for you for these 18 months. So 4th house is more about the family life and the personal life. 10th house is the public life, the professional life. So there will be a tussle between these two areas of life mainly. So work-life balance is going to be very, very crucial. So let's see in detail. So Rahu in the 4th house. 4th house is our home, our home life, our emotions, our inner peace and inner happiness. And then 4th house is our mother, 4th house, actual place of residence, and also real estate. 4th house is the vehicles, and things that give us happiness. It's called the Sukha Sthana. Sukha Sthana means real happiness, the place of happiness. So all of that will be impacted by the presence of Rahu in the 4th house. Rahu is what? Rahu is unconventional things. Rahu is dissatisfaction, excess of everything, exaggeration of everything. There may be fear of things, unknown things, and some kind of deception, illusion, that kind of thing. So all of those qualities of Rahu will impact the 4th house matters. So what that means, there may be like restlessness, you may be seeking inner peace. That's the fourth house, but Rahu is all about desires and more and more. So you may feel like restlessness. So you should do a lot of meditation, grounding exercises, spend a lot of time near the ocean. That's a great remedy for Rahu, especially in Pisces. And so there may be some conflicts within the family, in your home life, right? There may be some deception, or could be like hidden agendas within your family, or especially with your mother. Okay, you may feel like you're not settling down, you're not grounded, you don't have the stable home or the roots. You just want to go, places. And then also you may have this huge desire to have recognition in your home. Okay, so like you'll feel like, oh, my family should recognize me, my family should honor me, or they should give me due respect, all of that. So that kind of desire from your family, or especially from your mother, might be there with Rahu in the fourth house. So your fourth house, your inner happiness, your home life, will be impacted by Rahu. And so there may be a lot of like changes or unconventional home life, unconventional things going on with your mother, things like that. And you may also have some kind of fear of the unknown when it comes to your home life with your mother, all of that. Now, opposite of that, Ketu in the 10th house. 10th house is our profession, our career, our the authorities, what we do in the broad daylight, our karma, basically, right? So you may actually feel, with Ketu being there, you may actually feel detachment from material success. You may feel like, oh, I don't want to do the work or job or career. I just want to go within. Or on the positive side, you may actually find yourself pursuing spiritual careers, right? So spiritual career path or spiritual public life. You may have spiritual perspective on authority. At the same time, you may end up making some mistakes. So be careful around those areas, around your career, your work with the authorities, with your bosses. So there might be could be some issues with reputation and public image. That is the 10th house. Okay, so be careful, but there'll be sort of inclination not to do your job, your work in a traditional way, as in, oh, I want to be successful, 5-year plan, 10-year plan. On the other hand, Ketu will actually make you it could actually even make you shift your career to a more spiritual way of earning your living, right? So a lot of intuition and spiritual awakening in your career, in your path, in your karma. So those things will be there. And again, you have to look at the trines to Rahu and Ketu. So if you have any planets in your natal chart, trines to Pisces, trines to your fourth house, right? So in your 8th house or 12th house, those will be activated as well. And same thing with the Ketu. So you'll have to modify these based on your actual chart, but these are the overall recommendations or guidelines for Scorpio rising for this transit. So next we'll look at Capricorn rising. So Capricorn rising, this is the chart. And again, this transit, we're talking about Rahu-Ketu transit, Rahu in Pisces and Ketu in Virgo, that starts on November 28th, 2023 through May 29th, 2025. So 18-month transit. It's a major transit, and those dates are based on true nodes, Rahu and Ketu. Again, if you haven't watched already, please watch the intro section. That'll give you very detailed analysis of Rahu in Pisces and Ketu in Virgo. And in this section, in this portion, we're talking, adding another layer on top of that, which is the house. So how we analyze anything, 3 basic things is the planet, the sign it is in, and the house it is sitting in. So the planet and the sign we already talked in the intro section. Now we're talking about the house for Capricorn, for each rising sign. Of course, there are other layers. You can add the nakshatra, you can add the trines, you can add the dispositor, all of that. But for now, so we don't know everybody's chart, so these are generic predictions. So Capricorn rising, Rahu will be in your 3rd house when it goes to Pisces, and Ketu will be in your 9th house. Okay, 3rd house. So this is 1st house, 2nd house, 3rd house, right? So 3rd house means it's one of the upachaya houses. Upachaya means growing with time, giving better results with time. So there are 4 upachaya houses in the chart. So 3rd house, 6th house, 10th house and 11th house. So whenever Rahu goes to one of the Upachaya houses, it does well. It gives you good results. It's a fighter. So third house is the house of courage. It's one of the Upachaya houses. So Rahu will give relatively good results in the third house in Pisces. So third house is it's the courage, and Rahu is like a fearless fighter. Rahu is a maverick, right? So you may have extremely good, you'll have courage to fight the day-to-day battles. Third house is about day-to-day battles, and sixth house is about going to war, or big battles that we have in life. But third house is like, obstacles during the daily routine or things like that, dealing with the day-to-day issues. So you'll have courage to deal with all those. Now, third house is also house of communication and documentation and information. All of that very, very important. With Rahu there, see, Rahu is what? Illusion. Rahu is unconventional. Rahu is like fear or things like, so be very careful. There might be some things you may be missing. There may be some illusion or deception or misunderstanding when it comes to your communication, your information and documentation. Be very careful when you sign any documents, okay? Rahu may cause like blind spots, okay? Then third house, and also stay away from any gossip, because Rahu has this tendency to exaggerate everything. Okay, so anything you hear about other people, especially with your siblings, okay, related to your siblings, do not believe any gossip, or hearsay. Okay, be very careful in communication with your younger siblings, especially. Do not exaggerate things. Do not, make anything excessively good or bad. Just try to stay grounded. Be very careful when it comes to communication with your neighbors, with your siblings, okay, with your close friends. Third house is also very close friends who are like siblings. And then short distance travel, there'll be probably a lot of like confusion, or you have to travel a lot, short distance, like within the city, to get things done. Okay, you may actually develop some unconventional skills, because Rahu is unconventional and third house is our skills. So you may end up developing some unique, wonderful, out of the box, unconventional skills. Rahu may actually give you this huge desire to be recognized by your neighbors, by your siblings. So, be careful not to have that feeling too much. So that's Rahu in the third house for Capricorn rising. On the other hand, Rahu-Ketu are always 180 degrees apart, right? So opposite each other. Ketu will be in the ninth house. The ninth house is the house of the Guru. The Karaka for ninth house is Jupiter. We're not talking about the ruler. The sign ruler is Mercury, of course, that we talked in the intro section, Ketu in Virgo. But ninth house, the Karaka in general, is Jupiter. It's the house of the Gurus, house of higher wisdom, house of our superiors, house of our Sangha, house of long distance travel, house of luck, bhagya, the luck is ninth house. So Ketu going there, basically it's a wonderful placement for Ketu, because in general, it's a very spiritual house. And Ketu is, probably the most spiritual planet. It wants you to go within. So sort of like, your luck will shine, if you are very spiritual, if you're spiritually inclined, if you have go within, have intuition, okay? So you'll have huge opportunity to have like spiritual awakening, spiritual exploration, and you may go back to the roots. You may go back, discover your lineage. You may actually meet a guru from the past lives, things like that. So this is a wonderful placement for spiritual upliftment. Be careful. There might be, again, misunderstanding or mistakes when it comes to gurus, and your father especially. Also, ninth house represents our father also. So because Ketu may represent headless mistakes, so careful when you're dealing with father, with gurus, with your superiors. But in general, if you have spiritual foundation for these relationships, it will serve you really well. So that is Capricorn rising. Next, Aquarius rising. So number 11 sign. So Aquarius rising. Now, again, this is the transit for Rahu going to Pisces and Ketu going to Virgo. And this will start on November 28th, 2023 through May 29th, 2025, based on the true nodes true motion of the nodes, okay? And again, please watch the intro section. That will give you all the details of the Rahu in Pisces and Ketu in Virgo. Okay, so like how we analyze anything, any placement is three things, three fundamental things: the planet, the sign, and the house it is sitting in. So we discussed the planet and the sign in the intro section. So here we'll talk about the house specifically. So for Aquarius rising, Rahu will go to the second house and Ketu will go to the eighth house. So the second and eighth, this axis will be the focus. You'll focus your energy during these 18 months on the areas represented by the second house and by the eighth house. We'll talk about that. And again, these guidelines you'll have to modify based on how Jupiter is placed in your natal chart, because Jupiter is the dispositor of Rahu, and what other planets are in trines to your second house. In other words, in your sixth house and 10th house, that those will be activated by Rahu, and then planets in the fourth house and 12th house will be activated by Ketu. Those will be in trines to your eighth house. So Rahu in the second house and Ketu in the eighth house. Second house is our speech. Be very careful when you speak, because Rahu is like a maverick. Rahu is unconventional. Rahu is like, in Hindi we say mufat, like, you end up saying things just very raw, crude way of saying things, right? So be very careful. It's not a very sophisticated, suave. It's not a very you can say it's not like Venus. It's the opposite of Venus. If you have Venus here, you'll have a very gentle, sweet speech. Rahu is opposite of that. So be careful in your communication, especially your speaking. Second house is the house for food that we eat, right? So you may have this tendency of excessive eating, or kind of like eating junk food. That's very, very important for Aquarius rising. You may end up, having this eating a lot of junk food. So be careful about that. There may be some challenges with the family relationships in general, and some deception, illusion, kind of energy, because Rahu is the shadow planet, and second house represents our family in general. Now, also it's the family wealth, so maybe some issues related to that. And then you may have this excessive desire to be recognized by your family. Okay, so that feeling may be there because Rahu wants recognition wherever it goes, and it's got this like insatiable desire almost related to the areas, the house that it's sitting in. Okay, so, and you may develop like unconventional values, family values, right? And you may acquire or amass unconventional possessions also. Second house is all our possessions and accumulated wealth. Okay, so there may be, and again, also there may be some deception in those areas like accumulated wealth. Okay, so that's Rahu in the second house in the sign of Pisces for Aquarius rising for these 18 months. Now, Ketu in the eighth house. Okay, eighth house, actually placement of Ketu in the eighth house is wonderful for spiritual upliftment, because eighth house is the house of longevity, house of hidden things, secrets, spiritual insights. So Ketu sitting here will actually give you the access to the mysteries of life and death. It's an amazing placement for spiritual awakening. You'll get deep spiritual insights. You'll learn about the nature of the souls, the mysteries of existence of the universe, right? So, and you'll have very less fear of death and endings, because Ketu represents endings, and eighth house is the longevity and death also. So you won't have any fear of death, basically. And it'll make you a natural healer, like, because Ketu is all about healing as well, going within, transformation, intuition, energy healing, occult, all of that. And eighth house is those things as well. So Ketu will enhance all of your capabilities when it comes to spiritual healing, when it comes to deep dive into esoteric teachings and learnings. You may have some intense emotional experiences like Kundalini rising, things like that. So be careful, don't overdo all of those things. Strike some balance. But also there may be some issues with the shared resources. So for example, your heritage, your inheritance, and money from other people, from in-laws or from your spouse. So there may be some issues regarding that with the shared resources. So be careful about those things. But in general, amazing time for spiritual awakening. Okay. And then the last sign, the sign of Pisces, sign number 12. So for Pisces rising, so we're talking about Rahu and Ketu, the transit of Rahu in Pisces and Ketu in Virgo. So this will be applicable from November 28th, 2023 through May 29th, 2025, those 18 months. Please watch the intro section to understand the position, the placement of Rahu in Pisces and Ketu in Virgo. And now in this section, we're talking about how that will be modified for Pisces rising, because Rahu will be sitting in the Lagna, Ketu will be sitting in the 7th house. So basically, Lagna is yourself, 7th house is other people. So there will be this focus on yourself and other people. So you have to strike a balance between your individuality and your partnerships. So you have to learn to balance those areas of life during these 18 months. Okay, so Rahu in the Lagna, your Lagna is yourself, your personality, your behavior. And so Rahu will give you like immense ambition to represent yourself, to be recognized. You'll want to achieve success at any cost. It'll give you this unconventional charisma. Okay, you'll have this strong desire to make an impact on the world. So you'll have like unconventional ways of expressing yourself, unconventional self-expression. You'll have a desire to sort of break free from societal norms and expectations from the society as a traditional person. So you'll do things in a non-traditional way. So lots of opportunity for self-improvement, personality development, and you'll also develop interest in technology, innovation, outer space, things like that. So out of the box things. But there may be some sort of identity confusion, like you may feel like changing your identity or yourself. But could be like Phoenix rising, right? So you may actually rediscover yourself, but also careful about any sort of deception about yourself, your behavior, your personality, because Rahu is illusion. It may give you this, false sense of belief in certain things. So careful about manipulation, deception in those areas. But also it'll give you this impulsiveness to take risks, when it comes to yourself. Rahu also, first house, in general, it represents our health in general. So Rahu there, be careful about any health issues or any hidden health issues that might be there. So get checked up, especially like Vata related health issues might be there. Or there might be just fear of the unknown, like about yourself. So you can do Rahu, the remedies for Rahu and Ketu, we'll discuss. The remedies, I talked about the remedies in the intro section as well, but you can go to my website for remedies for Rahu and Ketu as well. Now, on the other hand, on the opposite spectrum is Ketu sitting in the 7th house of relationships. 7th house is all our one-on-one relationships. So Ketu being a headless, planet, you may make some mistakes in your relationships. Be careful about that. But it may actually give you some spiritual relationships, both personal and business relationships. Your partner may turn spiritual, or a good remedy for this transit is turn towards spirituality when it comes to your relationship. So do more spiritual things together with your partner. Okay, and Ketu may seek like independence in relationship. It may actually want to end some relationships, and you may want to go solo, right? So either it's spiritual partnership or just on your own, right? So that's the energy of Ketu. So there may be challenges in married life or relationships, but that will force you to become more spiritual. And if you're trying to get married, find a partner. So this may actually delay those things unless you find a very spiritual partner. Okay, because Ketu may actually give you a tendency to avoid any sort of commitment. Okay, so that's the overall energy for Rahu in the 1st house Lagna and Ketu in the 7th house for Pisces, right? So we talk about all of these 12 rising signs. So basically remember, wherever Ketu goes, whichever house, it will make it more spiritual. Wherever Rahu goes, it'll give you desires and things, excessive desires around those houses, but it'll give you this courage and potential and this energy as well. So that's all the 12 rising signs. And okay, so this was the impact of Rahu's and Ketu's transit, Rahu going to Pisces and Ketu going to Virgo, starting November 28th, 2023 through May 29th, 2025. So this is a major transit. So we talked about all the 12 signs. Now, as I mentioned, Rahu and Ketu, this is the biggest transit that I look at in the chart. Rahu and Ketu are the most important planets to me in the chart. They are karmic planets. Rahu is the reason we take birth. And so do listen to the intro section. That'll give you a lot of insights into how we analyze Rahu in a specific sign, Pisces, and Ketu in Virgo, and then all the 12 rising signs will give you the impact for various houses that Rahu and Ketu are placed. And so that axis is very important. So, and of course, then you have to look at your chart. For example, first thing is these recommendations or guidelines will be modified based on how Jupiter is placed in your chart, because Rahu is going to be in the sign of Jupiter. It's going to be in Pisces, which is ruled by Jupiter. So if Jupiter is strong in your chart, you'll get better results. Secondly, you also need to look at what other planets are in trines to Rahu and Ketu. Okay, so that those planets will get activated as well. Okay, so there's lots of things to look at, but these are really good overall general guidelines. Send me your experiences or your comments and questions in the comment section. And please like, share, and subscribe. Give me ideas for future videos or any questions you have. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much. Namaste.